Hi, my name is Maria. I am a local artist here in Point Douglas, and I want to share with you a really cool skill that you can bring into your kitchen, into your art practice, and learn how to make inks that are really kind to the earth and don't use a lot of ingredients. So I wanted to show you a few examples of how these inks can be used, or even just some of the colors. So this is a cabbage, purple cabbage blue wash that was made a few years ago. A lot of the inks tend to be not light fast, and some are more light fast. So this piece here uses avocados and some nettles, and there's some cabbage in there as well. And you can see how, I've added some like texture with salt, but how the inks will settle and puddle and create dark like gradients and really interesting markings on the page. And that's what makes it so playful and charismatic. So it's a constant learning journey. There are so many colors in the world, and every plant has its own characteristics. Some of the plants, the color is stored in the roots. Some it's in the leaves, some of it's in the flowers or the fruit. And when there's combinations where you add an acid or a metal of some kind, you will actually develop new colors. And so it's like a lifelong journey, and it's something that humans have been working with since we existed, using rocks and clay and plants to paint on walls in our homes, on our clothes and on our tools. And so so today I'm making turmeric ink, which isn't a local plant, but you can buy it. We have it in our kitchen, and it's something that is pretty readily available. So I'm just keeping the pot on very low setting with tablespoon of vinegar, white vinegar, and some salt. And I've got a cup of liquid with about 2 tablespoons of powder. And I'm just going to let that simmer for an hour, 2 hours, just so that I can get some of that evaporation to come off. And then we're going to filter it with the coffee filters. And while it's still warm, you might need to warm it back up. We're going to add the gum arabic, which is in your package, and that is the binder, which helps the thickness be more, it's going to stick to your paper better, and it's just going to be thick, a little bit thicker than water. But you don't need to add that if you are in a rush or you're using a pen tool, a calligraphy pen, and you want it to be a lot finer. You need to play around with it. And some people, I tend to leave the inks in overnight and leave them as long as possible, because more nuanced depth comes to the color. And so then the finished product will be placed in a bottle. You can use, I've provided 2 bottles for you here, or you can use your own. So you'll get a bit of sediment at the bottom. This is a marigold ink, and so you might need to shake it a little bit. Keep it in the fridge for a longer use. And you're also going to add these little cloves, which are also in your kitchen. They will prolong its usability, because eventually they will develop a bit of mold on top. You can skim that off if you have some developing and use it still. They will last for a very, very long time. And yeah, the colors are endless, and I'm excited to see how you do with this. So before we get into the cooking process, here are the ingredients that are in your bag. We've got 3 colors of turmeric and of nettle and hibiscus, which will give a nice variety of colors. There should be a few eyedroppers, 2 glass jars, some gum arabic, and some test strips, and also some coffee filters. So from your kitchen you'll need an old pot or any kind of pot and a spoon, and you're going to add 1 color to your pot. And then you'll need to add approximately a cup of water. If you can find rainwater or let your water sit on the counter so that the chlorine evaporates, it's just helpful to have a neutral pH in your water. And then you add that to your turmeric, or, well, in this case, turmeric, and you mix it together so there's no lumps. Offer a prayer blessing. And this happens to be a powder, so it's quite easy to mix, but if you're using a plant that you've foraged, you would just cut that up into small pieces. And then you're going to put it on your burner for about an hour on a really low setting. Yeah, your lowest setting. And you're just going to let it steam. So we're going to add here about a teaspoon of vinegar. I'm using a tablespoon. You can use what you want, and about a teaspoon or so of salt, and that just helps to bring out some of that the darker tones and makes it a bit more vibrant. You can put that in at the beginning, mix that in, and then you're just going to let it sit for the next hour or 2, and you can also leave it overnight. The longer the better. So today we're going to filter out your ink, and I'm doing the turmeric today. It's I didn't add a lot of liquid, and it's definitely evaporated quite a bit. You have in your kit, you have some filters, and that works great, but you need some kind of container to filter it in. Don't just filter it into these jars, because you might want to change the color, or you might not be happy with it. So before you even filter, you can put your swatch, your tester cards in and see how dark it is. With some of the other inks, like the Nettle, it will probably be very light when it goes on the card and then darken as it dries. If you have, a sunny spot to lay it out, that will speed along the drying process. Because the turmeric is so concentrated, I'm just going to add a bit more water so that it can filter through the coffee filter. So I'm using this cloth because I want to squeeze it and I don't want the filter to break. So I just warmed up the liquid and I'm going to add my gum arabic. right here. And if you have a teaspoon, you can do half a teaspoon for one of these jars here, which is 30 mils. So there's some measuring involved. But it needs to be warm for the powdered version. So now you're gonna have to stir it because it will clump up and it needs to dissolve all the way. So you might need to stir it and whisk it a little bit. And you don't need to boil it or anything, it just needs to be warm. Not quite done, but not bad. So if you have a filter, a funnel, that'll make your life a lot easier to pour into your jar. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm just gonna move this hot plate out of my way. And hopefully my balance. Oh yeah. A nice color. So I'm gonna let that cool before I actually paint with it. I'm okay with some of the powders staying in the jar. I don't think it will make it go bad. Oh, and then yeah, before you jar it up, the clove here, you only need one per jar. Pop that in, close it up. You can shake it if you want to blend that up a bit more, and just leave it on your counter in your fridge until you're ready to use it. We're gonna paint with it right away, so I'll just wait till it cools a bit. So I wanted to show you some sample colors these are some of my sample pages where, I've got a few colors on hand and I wanna see how they work together, or they're just, coming out of the pot and, I'm testing them out. So it's really amazing because when you start with a puddle of water and you take your dropper and you just add it to the edges, the color will concentrate and leave these beautiful gradients. And sometimes I take the powder, the loose powder from, a contrasting color, and I just sprinkle it on and it will bleed out. And contrast is really nice when you're wanting to highlight the bleeding effect. I don't have proper language around it, but this is like a rose color from an actual rose petal. This is from a berry called common buckthorn. That one has some really beautiful effects. So yeah, there's a lot of colors out there. And so yeah, so let's get to it. I'm gonna work with turmeric right now and just quickly, I've got these watercolor papers that are in your kit. So there's two sides. It doesn't really matter, but if you find the less, well, I can tell from here, but yeah. So I'm gonna get my brush and some water, and I've got my turmeric ink and some red ink. This is beet, but you can use your hibiscus, which will actually probably turn reddish, purplish, brown, bluish. Not sure. So I just want to get a lot on here. The more kind of liquid you get on here, the more concentration you're gonna get. And if you're wanting to like fan it out with just like water, my water's not that clean. The water pH will affect your color. The eyedroppers are handy for just not wrecking your, this is the other thing, your paper will bend and you will be very frustrated at first. All right, so then you're gonna move it around. You might wanna like play with it on the parts that you just put water. And this is the patience, is letting it dry. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of red. See how that does. I actually want the red to stay in one place, but it's not wanting to cooperate with me. So if it's too bothersome, like if you're getting too annoyed, you can just tip it off. Always have a cloth on hand because you're gonna get messy. Yeah, so I think I put too much liquid on, and so there's different stages of drying. The there's puddles where it's still wet, and this part here is still damp, so like when I add liquid to it, it will still move. It won't just stay, like if I put it over here, it's gonna stay, right? So I get some, you can do that as well, it's really fun. And if I put it over here, it's gonna spread out. There are no rules to this. It is completely organic movement. Some artists really love to paint outside in the sun where the heat of the sun is beating down, so it's gonna dry really quick and you'll get that saturation, those deep colors that you're looking for. So I hope this helps with some inspiration for you. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this little journey in making some colored inks. I really hope you can succeed at this. Don't forget to label, put the name of your plant or the name of your ink, the date, maybe some details when you go out foraging, where you got it. So these I'm keeping on my shelf because I use them frequently enough. But if you're, going to be taking a long break, keep them in the fridge and keep an eye out for any discoloration or mold or something. There will always be a little bit of sediment at the beginning or at the bottom. And so you can either shake that in or just pour it off the top. There are really no rules. It is a very, very flexible medium, very playful, very applicable to all ages. And, if you like playing with mud, if you like playing with water, you've got art. So yeah, you can find my work. I'm on Instagram mostly at Maria App Art, and I have the same address.com for my website where you can see my work and buy it. I don't normally teach a lot of classes, so this is kind of a one-time deal. So enjoy it, and I would love to see your pieces. If you want to send me an email, then mariaappart@gmail.com is my email address. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.